All right, everyone, it's money dance time. I forgot to tell you, Nancy, we like to do money dance at the beginning and get the vibe high.
I love it.
Right, bring the energy, everyone. So I woke up this morning like, oh yeah, I get to hang out with Nancy Levin today. Super excited. So you all are in for a huge, huge treat. This is a power woman, like powerhouse in every way. And backstory for me, I sent this to my community who gets my weekly newsletter and said, I'm going live with Nancy today. You've got to be there because this woman changed my life. And I'm not kidding. I didn't tell her this before the show, but I've read like every single one of her books, and she rocked my world because I was really interested in shadow work and Debbie Ford. And one of the first books I read on my journey was Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And then I found you, I think through her maybe. And I was mind blown about how you can really learn relationship skills. And I started to implement what I was learning and what I was reading. And, she's really incredible at boundaries. And then one of the, I think actually the first book I read of yours, Nancy, was this one. So she has a book called Worthy, Boost Your Self-Worth to Grow Your Net Worth. Everyone here must absolutely get it. It is, I've listened to it on Audible several times. I have the book. I refer to it all the time. And it's one of those books that changes you from the inside out and really deals with the dark parts that you don't want to face. And I'd say that to me, if I could, in an overarching way, say what Nancy brings to the table, it's that. It's like, hey, let's awaken to all parts of ourselves and love all parts of ourselves and be a badass at setting boundaries and really shine in the world. And so everyone, you're going to want to stay tuned this entire time. Welcome, Nancy. I'm so psyched you're here.
I'm so psyched I'm here too. I'm so happy to be with you.
Yay. And I told you a little bit about this, but I just got married recently. And, I attribute that as well because I had like the bumpiest relationship ride for most of my life. And, I grew up in a home that, and I know we all know this, we don't like to badmouth our parents. So this is more about my journey and my parents not knowing exactly how to do relationships well. Yeah. And so I learned all of those things from them. And so then I got married really, really young. I got pregnant and got married really young at 20 and then dropped out of college. And, I attribute a lot of this to my money story because my parents had this relationship where my mom had to like ask for money because I was raised fundamentalist Christian. And so women weren't really supposed to make money. And so this got downloaded into a lot of my money stories and a lot of my money beliefs. And so this worthy piece and the boundary piece and learning how to have good relationships has completely changed my life. And so, this round of relationship, my history is like affairs and just really challenging stuff and a lot of trauma. And, this new relationship, I'm like, oh my God, Nancy, help me find the love of my life. Because I'm ready for it, right? Like I can finally be who I am. And so everyone here, read these books because that's where they'll help you get.
Oh, yeah. I am so appreciative of you sharing the impact of the work.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Let's start with a juicy question for you. Okay. I'm so curious. And everyone here, we're going to dive into money. We're going to dive into relationships, whatever comes up. I like to have organic conversations, as you all know. And I do like to start with, is there a current money block that you are noticing come up in your business building journey? Like, how we all break through our money blocks for our entire lives. What's something you're working through right now?
Something around the way that I'm building my team. So I've been actively building my team. And then this year, for the very first time, I hired an employee. So I had only worked with, contractors.
Yeah.
And this year I actually hired a COO. And so really being able to allocate money toward that, but then also realizing that comes with an additional responsibility for me. Yeah. And I did that in the same time that I was actually streamlining my offerings. So in some ways I'm offering less things, but I'm more focused on what I am offering. Yeah. And so just sort of riding the wave of those two things is I would say something that I'm, still working through. I've spent more money on marketing, promotion, copywriting, strategy in the last 2 years than I've ever spent. And so I think also digesting the idea that, what got me here isn't going to get me there. And
Yeah.
so, there is the need for the output for a certain amount of time so that I can really, have the reach I want to reach.
Yeah. So interesting. I'm going through this on a different level than you. I haven't been in business as long, but it's like that narrowing your focus to expand in a different way. And it takes the slow down to speed up, or the even, putting money out there and trusting
Right.
and having faith.
Right.
Do you notice that coming up for you a little bit, that you're going like, oh, is all this going to work, or where is it going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I notice it, but what I will say is that I think, just in part of my own personal evolution around money and money stories and money myths and all of it, I am in a really different place around. I don't carry with me the fear that I carried at one time. I don't go all the way to, I'm going to be a bag lady living under a bridge. Like I don't do that sort of, catastrophizing that my mind used to.
Will you share with people watching? Because I know that there's different levels that people have that. Because for me too, like when I was on food stamps and I didn't always know where the next meal was coming from, it was like when a money fear would come up, it would go straight there. Like, oh
Right.
God, I'm going to be homeless. I'm terrified. I'm not sure what to do. Versus now it's different. I look forward to the day when it never comes up.
Mhm.
and it just changes in variety. So when did you notice that changing for you? Because you've been in business for how many years?
I've been in business for 8 years.
Okay.
And on my own for 8 years. And I would say that it's really only been in the past maybe 2 years.
Okay.
That I know that I was really aware that my mind didn't automatically go to, to fear or to that sort of scarcity mindset or, I would say that it's only been in the last couple of years.
Yeah. I think that's helpful for everyone watching to know, because I think sometimes people step into entrepreneurship and there's often that dream of like, oh, I'm going to step in. It's going to be amazing and fast. And, all my fears are going to go away when I break through 6 figures or whatever level it is. And when it doesn't, we go, wait, when is this ever going to shift? And so I want to give everyone hope and inspiration to know that things change over time and to stay in the game.
Yes, things really do change over time. And I also think, being there, and this is something that the book Worthy really promotes, is getting real about not only your actual finances, but also getting real about how you feel about money. And so many of our money blocks are really rooted in beliefs and rooted in our inability to want and receive. And so I was also aware of the way that I was opening myself up more to wanting and receiving. And, for me, after my divorce and after, and I write a lot about this in Worthy, but after my divorce and after the divorce mediation, I gave a lot of money away. I gave property away. I gave a lot of things away in the divorce agreement. And when I was rebuilding, it became really clear that, all my self-sufficiency and all of my ability to be independent became a real gift in terms of the way that I began relating to my money, because I was such a people pleaser, such a peacekeeper. I was constantly giving and buying love, literally with money, and doing everything I could financially to keep my now ex-husband happy. And once I no longer took on that responsibility and focused on my own finances and my relationship to my finances, knowing that I'm the only one who can really take responsibility, everything shifted.
God, that's So powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I know in your book, you're very revealed about these stories. So everyone, I highly recommend reading Nancy's book. For me, same thing. It helped me really recognize, where do I need to have financial power within myself, instead of wishing and hoping that someone else would come along and
Right.
save me. And I didn't really think of it that way until I read your book, where I realized, oh, I am a victim. And it's almost this form of entitlement, where it was like, I expect my husband to save me. And when that falls apart, then I'm screwed.
That's
And
right.
it's terrifying. It's like, oh God, I'm all alone here. And now, and for me, it did show up in a lot of ways of being in relationships to make sure I was financially secure, because that really got encoded in my childhood.
Right. Yeah. And then, just like you said, when we put ourselves in the position of the victim, or we're constantly blaming someone else, or we're constantly looking outside of ourselves to be saved, as you said, the idea is we can actually shift that by taking responsibility. And that is what will empower us.
Mm-hmm. God, yes. That for me, it was that moment of clarity of going, oh my God, no one's coming to save me. And I'm the common denominator here. I need to change.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, for everyone watching it now or later, it's one of those moments where it's the greatest liberator, and it's also terrifying, because you realize, like, oh, now I got to do something different. So, I think one of the most common questions I get is, how do you change? And I always go, it starts with making the decision. It's me. I've got to change.
I, of course, love that you just posed this question.
Yeah.
Can I pop up my show and tell?
Absolutely. Yes.
So I was showing Amanda before we went live. This is my new book called The Art of Change, and it is a guided journal. And it is designed to be 8 weeks to making a meaningful shift in your life. And it comes out on September 6th, but you can pre-order now. And I've got a really amazing bonus. I created a companion audio program to the journal, and it's called 8 Dimensions of Reinventing Yourself.
Ooh.
And it's not for sale yet. So this is the only way you can get the audio, is by ordering the journal. And yeah.
I'm getting it. She told me right before this, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go buy it right now.
So, you pose the question, around, like, how do we change? And so the art of change is really predicated on what I call my transformation equation, which is change equals vision plus choice plus action. So in order for our lives to change, we first need to have clarity of vision. Where is it that we want to go? What is the ideal set of circumstances we desire and that we are wanting to move forward toward? And then once we have that clarity of vision, our actions and our choices are essentially weighed with the vision. So the vision becomes the gauge by which we weigh our choices and actions. Every single choice we make, every single action we take will do one of two things: serve the vision or sabotage the vision. So what I think is really essential is to be aware of choice and action, and to make and take them consciously. So even just like a really sort of simple, example, if let's say the change I'm looking to make is around saving money to buy a house, right? So, the vision I'm holding is, I can see myself in that house. I know what it takes. I know I'm going to need to, set aside a certain amount of money each month or whatever. I'm having the vision. I'm seeing myself living into the vision I'm holding for this house. So then the sneaky sort of like, but I could go online shopping tonight and buy these shoes, Yeah. And so instead of mindlessly hitting, buy, let me at least contemplate, does this choice serve the vision I'm holding?
Awesome.
Or is it sabotaging? So if we take the time with every choice, with every action to slow down and just ask ourselves that question. Now, I still might buy the shoes, but if I buy them, at least I'm doing it consciously.
Yeah. Can I say something here real quick? So what you're saying is so incredibly important, because you're talking about alignment and congruency within.
Yep.
And anytime we create misalignment, we cause shame and this feeling within where we can't fulfill a vision, because subconsciously we go, hey, I said I'm going to do this thing and now I'm not doing it. And it muddies the water of the vision, which causes, I talk about it as manifestation time shrinking or expanding. And when we're out of alignment, it expands. So it's going to take us longer to manifest the vision. And so that the key thing that Nancy said there is conscious choice, right? Consciousness. So if you're going to buy the shoes, be conscious about it.
That's right.
Instead of just mindlessly doing it and then beating yourself up and going, now crap, I can't fulfill the vision of having the house.
Exactly. And so, to build on what you're saying here, part of this too, and part of the clarity of vision needs to come in around the alignment of saying what I want being the same thing as what I'm most committed to.
Yeah.
So, I talk in all my books, and in all my coaching and in everything, I share a lot about underlying commitments.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever there is a discrepancy between what you say you want and what you're actually experiencing, it's because there's an old, outdated underlying commitment in the mix.
Yeah.
Excuse me. There's an old commitment in the mix. So the problem is most people think they're committed to what they say they want. But the truth is most people have no idea what they're most committed to. So we want to make sure that we're not sort of, swimming in different directions at the same time. We want to make sure that everything we do is in alignment with really what we say we want, and we have to move the commitment in that direction.
Ugh, I'm having an epiphany moment, because I've read all of your books in the beginning of my journey, and I have a term called competing commitments, and it's exactly underlying commitments. I'm like, oh my God, this was in my subconscious somewhere, because it's exactly what I teach. It's always, you say you want one thing, but you're not getting it. What's the problem here? And it's competing commitments, where your beliefs are not in alignment with what you say you want. And so you got to figure out and dig into, what is it I truly believe? Because in my mind, let's use the shoe and house example. You could say you want the house and you could start going for it, but then you notice yourself getting distracted buying the shoes. And really somewhere in there's maybe a thought, there's a variety of different things, but it could be that you go, I don't believe I'm good enough to own my own house.
Yeah.
I don't know how to go to the bank and get the loan and do all the things. I'm scared. It's a vision, but I'm scared. And so it's our job to get conscious of these things so that we can understand how to fulfill our vision. And so I really, really like this, to me, a very simple, straightforward map. Get clear on the vision and then make conscious choices, which will lead you into action to fulfill that vision.
That's exactly it. I mean, that's why when it really boils down to it, it's that simple. Vision, make the choice that's going to support you, take the action that will then bring the vision to fruition.
Okay, let's dig here a little bit. And actually, first, I noticed some comments coming in, so I wanted to highlight people who are showing up. That's awesome. So Alethea Tyler, and this everyone is my oldest monkey, my babe, who I could cry because she's one of the most incredible humans on the planet. She has an amazing business called Copy with Spice, so check her out. She's an incredible copywriter.
Cool.
So she's here saying, "Oh, I love that. I hope you don't mind me." Giving you a shout out, Alethea.
I love that.
She has read your books as well. So yeah, check her out, everyone. Copy with Spice. Glad you're here, Alethea. And then Zamba's making a whole bunch of awesome comments. They're a little long to post on here, but he does ask a question that I can see clearly here. Let's see if we can show this one. I would like to know the same thing. How do you keep from catastrophizing and going straight to living the catastrophes themselves, consequences of poor money habits, regardless of income tiers?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to be really clear that I'm not into magical thinking. I'm not, I'm very practical.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always going to be sort of harping on taking responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So so in terms of looking at what's realistic and living within our means and making sure that we are aware that the choices, I always will say, our present moment choice predicts our future. Our present moment choice is the crystal ball that we're all looking for. If we want to know what our future is going to look like, it is 100% dependent on our present moment choices. So how we keep from catastrophizing is really slowing down, taking a pause, considering our choices, and making the choices that are healthiest, that are going to support us most. They may not always be the choices that feel the best. They may be, they may be choices that delay gratification. However, that's what being responsible is.
Yeah. Yes. So I want to add here, I talk a lot about the difference between responsibility and reactivity. And usually when we're making unconscious choices, we're reacting to something.
Right.
And we're animals, right? So we're going toward pleasure and away from pain. And when we're in reaction, we're always going, I got to do the thing that makes me feel good now, to move away from the pain. And what the difference here that Nancy's highlighting that I think is so incredibly important, and we're going to put this up again, is vision, choice, action. It's that conscious choice. So if you're making a present moment conscious choice that's in alignment with fulfillment of your vision, you're going to automatically take the inspired action that's getting you where you want to go. So it's like, such a gem of wisdom. I mean, everyone here, write this down and live by this. Our present moment choice predicts our future. I mean, that is like, if that's all you walk away with today, you're golden. So thank you for that. That's awesome.
You're very welcome. And I think, especially that, I think really this piece about slowing down and considering, and sometimes knowing that it means we have to sit in discomfort, and that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, I just got chills. I sat in a lot of discomfort this weekend. I had my honey and I have really had a pretty easy relationship. And this weekend we had like the biggest blowout we've ever had yet. And it was like, I was so thankful for the tool of being able to sit in discomfort.
Yep.
Because the old version of me would run the hell away.
We got
fast, and it was like I was able to sit in the discomfort and then have the biggest breakthroughs we've ever had in our relationship because I was able to sit in the discomfort, and so was he. And it's like, I had the moments of freaking out and wanting to leave, of course.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I can do this. And so, everyone here, I think it's important to ask yourself, am I willing to sit in the discomfort now to fulfill my vision of the future?
That's right.
Right? Like I think that might be one of the hardest things for people is we do all kinds of things to avoid the discomfort of the now.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, we do.
Oh, this is amazing. Okay. We have a few more comments coming in. So Kaylee, shout out to Kaylee. She's amazing as well. So she says, love listening, read Jump recently and can't wait to read more of your work. Have you worked meditation into your practices? And if so, can you share methods that worked best for you? Great question, Kaylee.
Really beautiful question. So I am a meditator. I have been meditating daily and consistently for since 2015. So I guess going on 7 years maybe. And in the journal, especially.
I'm so excited for this.
In the journal especially, and in the audios that you get as a bonus for pre-ordering, they really are like the audio element is really a meditative contemplation and exploration. And the journal is also really calling on you to be meditative in that way. I tend to do silent meditation, not necessarily guided meditation. But what I love about the audios that I created to be a companion to The Art of Change is that they're really helping to guide you into the prompts and the questions to journal around, because this is chewy material when we are going into ourselves, when we're going in and looking for answers to questions in our body and coming from another frequency as opposed to just cognitive. So my personal meditation practice is a silent meditation practice, focusing on the breath, allowing what comes in to come in and allowing it to go. And have always paired, because I'm a lifelong journaler, I've always paired my meditation with my journaling. And so after meditating, I go right to my journal and see what's alive.
I'm curious. It's making me think of Debbie Ford, because I know, like, I've listened to a lot of her meditations, and I would imagine that you're doing something in that vein.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's so interesting. I love synchronicity, because on part of my processing this weekend, when I was really upset, I went on like a long hike and did like a walking meditation. Yeah. And one of the things that came to me, which I think I didn't tell you this morning, was so weird. I was like, I need to write a book with journaling prompts because I have so many people come to me and say, how do you journal? What do you do? And to me, it just comes very naturally, because I've been doing it for a lot of my life. Yep. And so I haven't seen your book yet, and I'm really excited. I was thinking like, oh, it needs to have a quote and then a journaling prompt. And like, I'm excited to see what you put together, because I know it'll be powerful.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yes. Yeah. I think you're going to love it.
Oh, I'm certain I will. I've gotten so much out of everything you've written.
Oh, good.
Okay, let's see what Alethea says. So Alethea Tyler says, I like to think of that as being the parent to yourself, making the responsible decisions that will build toward what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this came in a little while ago, so she's probably talking in a lot of ways about, I would say journaling, meditating, and also responsibility versus reactivity. So those responsible decisions. Yep. So yeah, exactly. Great comments. And everyone here, remember, ask any questions that come up. We will keep plugging in to check them out. So let's go with this. And this is interesting, because what I really would love to know, I could pick your brain all day and just share value with everyone. Something that's coming up for me in this moment is, usually I ask people, what do you do to build your business to 6 figures faster? But I don't want to ask that of you today, because I really want to dig into this relationship piece. And really, it's the self-love piece. So I want to ask for you, what would you say are 3 top tips to love yourself more? Because I think that's such a powerful gift you bring to the world.
Thank you. The first is to consider your own needs at least as much as you're considering the needs of others. So that's baseline. I will go on to say, sort of for extra credit, give yourself permission to consider your needs even more than you consider the needs of others.
Oh,
and then the real boundary ninja move is consider your needs first before considering the needs of others.
Okay.
All of this has to begin with your willingness to consider your own needs at least as much as you've been considering the needs of everybody else. Yeah.
This is big, because I think that, I think part of the reason your work resonated with me so much was that piece, because I really, my first book on the journey was a codependency book. Yeah. And I realized how much I put everyone else's needs first and completely abandoned myself for connection, and just didn't even know what my needs were.
Yep.
So will you share some practical wisdom in terms of what do you do to consider your own needs first? Like, what does that look like?
Yes. So practically, this begins with reorienting your attention toward yourself instead of others. So instead of living an other-referenced life, this is about living a self-referenced life. And the easiest way to begin, funny enough, is to notice whenever you find yourself and you can hear yourself thinking, what do they think? What do they need? What do they want? What do they feel? To immediately turn it around to, what do I think? What do I need? What do I feel? What do I want? And at least begin becoming familiar with the language of your own needs. And alongside of this, and sort of still in answering your question, that was really sort of like the second piece. And another piece is really, I look at self-love, self-care, and selfishness as being three sisters whose job it is to support you in honoring yourself.
Wow.
So I am on my soapbox about reclaiming selfish. It is not a bad word. And I also believe that in the context of selfishness, when you are really putting attention on what you need and doing what you need, if guilt arises, it's because it's so unfamiliar, and it really is an indicator that you're on the right track. So guilt in this context means you're doing what you need to be doing for you.
I like that you said this, because I think that it's pretty common to feel guilt in those moments, because it's so foreign to take care of yourself if you've been a chronic people pleaser.
Yep.
That you go, oh, this feels wrong or bad to take care of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to tie this in here to entrepreneurship, because I think that imposter syndrome in big ways causes, especially, I could say both men and women, but it causes women a lot of times to not celebrate their wins because it feels selfish.
Yep.
They're going like, I've already put so much time into my business. Now I need to focus on my kids and then you just get drained because you feel guilty taking care of yourself. And even if you don't have kids, it's like, it could be your partner. It could be, you really, I notice a lot of entrepreneurs neglecting themselves.
Right. And I also think that ties into the way that most people, and again, I'll say most women, have learned to bond over their suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to support bonding over success.
Wow.
And I believe every single person needs someone in their life who they can go to and like full on open up, brag, whatever you want to call it. But like full on celebrate yourself with someone else to witness you.
Oh, okay. I'm giving a shameless plug here, everyone. NFA Money Mamas is your place to do that.
Good.
We have
Good.
like such a beautiful community of
Good.
entrepreneurial women who come together and support each other, challenge each other. And like every week, Friday, we celebrate our wins. And it's like, and I love to make a big deal of my wins, because I have a chronic history of undervaluing myself and not celebrating myself.
Right.
And it's like, hey, you gotta, just like Nancy's saying in these first two, and I know you actually said so many more than two already, but we're going to say another one anyway, considering your own needs and learning how to do that. That's been a long journey for me. And just being able to know, what do I need? How do I feel? How do I articulate it? How do I ask someone of it with, someone else to fulfill my needs without feeling guilty? My poor ex-husband, in a lot of ways, like, I just expected him to read my mind and fulfill my needs. And then I blamed him when he didn't, even though I didn't even know what they were.
That's right.
Like I had no clue. And that was something that him and I got to talk about afterwards. It was like, wow, this is big growth to be able to state your needs. So everyone here, practice this. Like, and I would say in celebrating your wins. So in this tip 2, reclaiming your selfish and really starting to celebrate yourself, put in the comments some way you reclaim your selfishness and celebrate yourself, because this is really important. And then we're going to check before we go to tip 3. Let's see what we have. I see another comment coming in. Okay, Zamba. So learn to live in discomfort. So going back to the discomfort conversation, don't react and run from it. Sounds like, yes. Well, that's a long comment. So we'll say, don't react. Don't react, respond, and learn to live in discomfort. Absolutely. Okay, Alethea says, let's put this up here. One of the biggest takeaways from the book, Permission to Put Yourself First, literally opened my entire life to myself. Yes. This I can say as, knowing people that I get to watch who have that transformation. It's like all of a sudden they go from pleasing and in a lot of ways, I'd say like toxic style relationships where they're just not equivalent exchange, and then moving into loving yourself and putting yourself first. And then you have the opportunity to have these incredible relationships. When two people can do that together, it's powerful. Yeah. or even just in any relationship. This could be with your clients. This could be with friends. This, this isn't only in intimate relationships. It's put yourself first in every configuration. Is there anything you want to add there?
No, I mean, that's, what's interesting is that book, Permission to Put Yourself First, was previously titled in hardcover, The New Relationship Blueprint.
I have that one. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when we went to publish it in paperback, we decided we wanted to change the title.
I was wondering about that.
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
It's exactly the same book.
Okay. I thought so because I have both.
Right.
Like, here, everyone. Here you go.
I love you. You're so cute. Yes. It's exactly the same book, but we really, because the whole premise of the New Relationship Blueprint is about the relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted to change the title. But I feel really strongly about this whole piece around, the self-love conversation is this permission to put yourself first.
Yeah. Yeah. Will you share what's coming up in my mind is this thought of what makes it so hard for people to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as simple as we have not been taught to do it, and we've not been rewarded for it, and in fact, we've been punished for it in some regard.
Yeah.
We are constantly getting some kind of message of don't be too big for your britches. It's not ladylike to brag. Some version of you're too much, you're too this, you're too that, you're too loud, you're too. Yeah. And so we start, Yeah.
How can we, I would say, and I know this isn't it's like one thing you can do to fix this problem. To me, it's reading books, journaling, meditating. It's a daily interaction with yourself.
It is. And, that would be sort of my third thing is this self-connection. A non-negotiable practice of self-connection. So for me, it's meditating and journaling. For some people, it's dancing. For some, not something that you're doing as escapist, but something you're doing to actually come back in, to really spend time with yourself. And that was another reason why putting this journal out was so important to me, because my journaling has saved my life. I mean,
Me too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been so important for me. So it was really something that I wanted to put out there. But I do believe that a really strong self-connected practice, daily ritual, non-negotiable boundaries around that time for yourself are essential.
Ugh, okay. Everyone here, this is like, if I could, sometimes I just want to implant into people's brains these tips, because if we make it so much harder than it needs to be. And the reason is because we're not willing to sit in that discomfort and see what's on the other side of it. And so one thing I want to point out to everyone here in terms of this non-negotiable practice of self-connection, it's going to feel weird at first.
Yes.
Like it feels uncomfortable. And you got to sit through it anyway. Like for me, one of the things that I really struggled with was spending time alone. I hated I'm introverted, but I also didn't like to be alone because then I'd have to face my shit, and I'd have to feel my feelings. And I hated feeling my feelings at all costs.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And so now it's like I love hanging out by myself, and I practice these daily rituals. And so, I want to highlight for everyone, again, it's non-negotiable. Like this is like a date in your calendar that you do not break.
Yeah.
Because you're gold, and treat yourself like gold. Like you wouldn't set an appointment with a friend and not show up. They wouldn't be your friend if you kept doing that repeatedly, right? Absolutely. You're your own best friend, and you want to do this for yourself daily, non-negotiable self-connection. Yep. And so some of the tips that Nancy gave, journaling, meditating, for me, trail running is huge. Yes. Nancy's here because we ran into each other, a pastor on the trail. I'm like, yes. Nancy Levin, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so hiking, like nature. Yep. Would you think that that self-connection time could be hanging out with good friends? Like could it include other people, or does it need to be solo?
So I believe that because of what you said earlier, that there was a time you didn't like to be alone. I really want to support everyone in shifting alone to with yourself. And I believe that the self-connection time needs to be a one-on-one with yourself. It doesn't mean that it can't be enhanced or accelerated later with others, but to me they're separate things. So even if it's 10 minutes, I'm not talking about hours on a mountaintop, even if it's 10 minutes, to have that time with yourself, to really check in with what's going on with me. I'm feeling irritated. What is that? Or I'm feeling bugged, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling whatever it is. So really allow yourself to have the airtime.
Something that you said that's really important for everyone to notice is that it takes self-connection time for you to notice how you feel.
Absolutely.
Right?
Especially if we're just, powering through and muscling through and doing whatever we can to avoid how we feel. And again, really looking at this back to what we were talking about in terms of the choices that we make and doing them consciously. It's important to look at what are your avoidance strategies. What are the things you're doing so you don't have to feel or deal? What are you eating or drinking or exercising or working, or, what are the things you're doing to actually take yourself out so you don't have to deal with anything? And even slowing down, reaching for, for me, work is my drug of choice. So, and so even if I don't necessarily have to be working or whatever, work will always be the drug of choice. And it's like slowing down to say, why am I going to this when I don't need to? Same with, reaching for the fridge. I'm not hungry. Why am I reaching for the fridge when I'm not hungry? What's going on here? What don't I want to feel right now? Even just slowing it down like that.
Yeah. So asking yourself those powerful questions when you first have to recognize, and you choose to recognize with that self-connection piece. Something I've noticed is the more I choose to connect with myself, the louder the voice gets about how I'm feeling.
Yes.
Which is so helpful. It's like something's out of alignment. I feel it a lot faster. It used to sometimes I think it used to take me years. Really years.
And I think part of that is really learning to listen to our body. I believe that our body is the barometer of our truth. I believe our body feels things and knows things far faster than our head does. But for some reason, we discount the body's signaling, and we wait for it to land in our head. But I know for me, like, I feel things in my upper arms, and I like, that's a place that if I feel something there, I know something's going on. Other people feel it in their throat, or feel it in their gut, or their solar plexus, or wherever. But I believe we all have like a tell, like a poker tell. We all have a place that we feel something. And we can really learn to be in conversation with it.
And it takes that awareness, the choice. Again, I want to tie this back to what you were saying in your transformation equation, because that ties so powerfully, where you can easily go, okay, what is the vision that I'm seeking? Self-love, radical self-love, let's say. So then every choice you make consciously is like, how do I love myself more? And what are the actions I take to do that? Spending time with yourself. Getting conscious about your feelings, tapping into your intuition, listening to it when it's telling you something. Like this is so powerful. I could talk to you all day. I love this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I typically ask about money and business questions. Will you tie this in terms of a money conversation? Like, will you share how you believe self-worth and radical self-love, spending time with yourself, reclaiming your selfishness ties to making more money in your business?
So, what I really do believe, and I've seen time and time again, is that, first of all, our beliefs are powerful and magnetic. So if we believe we are not good enough or not enough, we will also believe that we will never have enough and that there isn't enough. So part of it has to begin with being able to shift our beliefs. You know, the subtitle for Worthy is Boost Your Self-Worth to Grow Your Net Worth. And when I'm talking about net worth, I am, of course, talking about money, and I'm talking about time. I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about all the things that we end up tying into not feeling worthy enough for, and not feeling worthy enough to take for ourselves.
Yes. I love this. Okay. There's so many directions I want to go, and I know we're running out of time. So anyone who has any lasting questions, let's answer those. Zamba did say a question about guilt. Ooh, let's talk about that. Questions about guilt for y'all. How can I learn to tell when guilt is a good thing for me and when it's toxic? Great question. How can I make telling the differences less hard than what it needs to be?
So what I was saying earlier is that in the context of taking care of yourself, when guilt arises, that's a signal that you're honoring your own needs. So that for me is the differentiation. I wouldn't go so far as to say, I mean, I don't think guilt is good across the board, because I think that most of us use guilt to beat ourselves up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm simply wanting to say that if there are certain circumstances where you feel guilty because it's the only name you know for that feeling, because the feeling of taking care of yourself is so unfamiliar. And you think that it's in some way taking you away from something else that you quote unquote should be putting attention on.
Mm-hmm. So shoulding yourself into doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I think guilt is such an interesting topic because, you know, guilt is to me just a feedback system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what you're saying, you know, it's like, what is the guilt saying to me?
Right.
It's not like guilt, good, bad. It's going, I mean, we know in terms of frequency, I always think, you know, guilt and shame is a very low frequency.
Yeah.
And we want to be moving into the higher frequency to feel joy in our lives and to magnetize what we choose to magnetize our way. So guilt is one of those things where if you're feeling guilt, you want to really ask yourself about it and go, why am I feeling guilty?
Yeah.
Is this a feedback system to help me break through something?
That's
or
right.
Is it like, this really isn't in alignment with my vision and I need to take different inspired action?
That's right.
Yeah. So powerful. Oh, okay. So I think those are the ends of the questions for now. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here live.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you watching later, leave questions. You know, I always come back and answer. Nancy,
I'm happy to.
Yeah, absolutely. And she, I mean, really, okay, everyone, I've held up books. You've seen them. If you go on Amazon, just Nancy Levin, you'll see all of the links to her books. But she does have a new book coming out that we've been talking about throughout this whole talk. Here is the info. And she's holding it up, The Art of Change. And again, like I said, this is one of the number one questions I have. People ask me, like, how do you change and why is it so hard? And so this Art of Change is going to have journaling prompts. And I don't know all about it, but I'm excited to see. So it's going to give you a roadmap to help you.
That's exactly
change.
right.
And I know, will you share other ways that people can reach you and what you have going on in the world?
Absolutely. So everything is at my website, nancylevin.com. I will be opening enrollment soon for my Levin Life Coach Academy training and certification program. And so be on the lookout. I've got lots of goodies, my podcast, my social media, workshops, freebies, all sorts of things at nancylevin.com. So you can find out anything you want.
I'm curious, do you ever do couples workshops or do you only work with women?
I haven't done a couples workshop, but I have worked with couples in a coaching setting.
Okay. Ooh, fun. I love this. Okay. So check Nancy out. Again, you've heard my high praise. Really, like when I have a list of the top 10 mentors who have really changed my life, Nancy is on that list. So, you know, you all know that I practice what I preach, and when I read something and it changes me, I'm going to share it with the world because I think it needs to be in the world and we need to help more people. And Nancy is out there doing it. So everyone connect with Nancy in any way that you can. and choose to. Thank you, Nancy, for coming on. It's been
so
really, really lovely.
Yeah.
And for all of my people, remember, I have a few resources for you. Go to the NFA Money Formula. This is going to give you a very strategic process to start to reprogram your money mindset with a video and a cheat sheet. And then for those of you who are going, hey, I want to hang out with some awesome women who are on the way to doing what they love in their businesses, hanging out with other women who are of like mind, supporting each other, celebrating wins. One of the members the other day, we were really helping her go through something, and she said, I had this visualization of my jetpack NFA Money Mamas coming into my mind, and it was
God, I love it.
I know, it's stuck in my brain. It was like, that's how this community feels. So NFA Money Mamas, it's in some big transitions. You're going to go through a 12-week reprogram your money mindset course, and be in the mastermind at the same time. And so tons of resources to really up-level yourself, raise your vibe, have a great relationship with money, and hang out with other cool women. So check that out, NFA Money Mamas. And then again, NancyLevin.com. And thanks again for being here, Nancy. Thanks everyone else for being here. And I'll see y'all next week. And until then, NFA Money Making High Fives.
Thank you.